Good morning. I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage, and I want to welcome you to today's presentation, which I've entitled, Are You Having Budgeting Issues? I think we all do at times, and particularly in a time of rising costs, that we're facing right now. I think everybody has some questions with these rising costs of what their bottom line profits are going to be like. And understandably so. So have you been thinking about this? Because if you have been thinking about it, I want to tell you congratulations. Because as you've heard me say so many times, if you measure something, you can understand it. If you understand something, you can control it. And if you can control an item, you can make improvement in that area. So for the best outcome, the thing we need to start by doing in terms of financial results is to build an annual budget. Is it overwhelming? Maybe, particularly when we go, good gracious, look at the cost of these items this year compared to 2 years ago, 3 years ago with inflation and other supply chain issues. Maybe it's overwhelming, but Peter Drucker says, and I quote, the best way to predict the future is to create it, end of quote. I want to share that with you again because I think it's a very valid point. The best way to predict the future is to create it. What he's saying is, we need to do everything we can to create the future that we want to have, not what we think will happen on its own. And so influence it as much as you can. Some helpful tools as far as this budgeting process. I think some helpful things to keep in mind are, number one, the volatility of the ag markets, especially in the dairy industry and the almond industry, have increased dramatically the last 20 years. So I would suggest to take a look at options. If you're in the dairy business, of course, the Dairy Revenue Protection Program, the Dairy Margin Coverage Program are both excellent tools to be using, and you can use them both, I believe, now. But look at options to put a floor under your price, basically to guard against any severe downturns in the markets. Point number two, contract as many of your costs as you can, as much as possible. And be careful in this area. I see so many people always trying to hit home runs, get the ultimate best price, and that's great. But if those don't ever happen, if those never occur, you can be left kind of holding the bag, so to speak. And so forget about hitting the home runs. Singles and doubles win games too. So I would just recommend do the best that you can. Better to do the best you can and hit singles and doubles than to basically watch the ball go by because you waited for that home run pitch. So be careful in that area. Point number three, do the best you can to project all your expenses. And ultimately, it's important that we monitor them monthly. Why is that important? With my clients, what I found is that if it's just absolutely crucial to catching problems early, whether it's a labor cost, supply costs, or repairs and maintenance costs, at least if we're cognizant of the fact that those are rising pretty dramatically, and perhaps at a greater level than we had projected, for example, I think it's imperative that we catch it early because, again, if you measure it, you can understand it. If you understand it, you can control it. And of course, if you can control it, you can make improvement once again. So catching these problems early, and that's why I think we need to monitor them monthly. Quarterly financial statements are great. What the CPAs put together, they're absolutely wonderful working tools. But a lot can happen in 90 days, and a lot sooner than 90 days. So I think it's imperative that we measure these things on a monthly basis. Point number four, even with the best laid plan, you may get off track at some point. Some things are just beyond your control, of course. But if you catch them early, remember, you can fix them in a more rapid manner and a more profitable manner and get better results. I will tell you that this problem of using options to put a floor under your price, contracting as many costs, in the case of dairies, it's feed costs primarily, but there are other things that almond operations, grape growers, dairymen likewise that do farming can do. Contract your fertilizer, contract your seed ahead of schedule before it goes up in cost. So again, Putting a floor under prices to minimize the volatility of the ag markets or their impact upon your prices, contracting as many costs as you can, projecting your expenses to the best of your ability, and then most importantly, monitor them monthly and see how are we doing compared to what we had budgeted. This is crucial. And again, you may occasionally get off track, but if you're doing the first 3 steps, especially monitoring them monthly, as I do with all my clients, you can catch them early and fix them. This process has worked for my clients for over 24 years, and trust me, if you need help, contact me. You can reach me at john@success-strategies.com, or you can go to my website, which is right above my head, and you can go there and you can contact me through that. Again, I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated, and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage, and I want to thank you for listening today. Thank you very much.